Back even when I was like 5 or 6 years old, I've always wanted to be a marine biologist. My uncle was a marine biologist, so I sort of wanted to follow along, and I found that the work that he was doing back at my grandma's house, like working with microscopes and everything, was really interesting. So I actually went to university for a couple years to sort of follow in the same footsteps, but I found that when you're actually a marine biologist, you're sitting behind a computer a lot more than I would like to be, so I started becoming a field technician, and I started with A-Tlegay in 2011 as just a summer student. And from there, I slowly worked my way up and got commercial dive tickets and all these other fun things that allow me to actually go out in the field and conduct surveys and everything else that the biologists need for fish health and fish studies. Born and raised in Comox, so I've always been around the water, and I've always loved the water and the ocean and how vast it is. You just find so many interesting things. Like every day you can find something new with being out on the water, so it's pretty much that. Like, it's just lovely. Like, it's awesome to be around.
Well, I started off in the commercial fishing industry with I first started on my grandfather's boat, and then eventually moved on to my dad's boat, and then fishing kind of started to go near the downward trend, I guess, in the late 90s, I guess. And so this job opportunity came up, and so I took it. And I'm still in the fishing industry, so I'm kind of helping out the fishermen more now. A-Tlegay is, like I said, part of 5 First Nation groups. So we do a lot of stream enumeration stuff, and we also monitor a lot of our First Nations fishermen when we do food fishing in the Straits, and all kinds of other stuff like BC Hydro work and all kinds of surveys that we do.
So part of my job is I do a lot of BC Hydro work, so I'll go in there and be the environmental monitor, or do stream enumerations for trout. I'm also a commercial diver, so I'll do a bunch of environmental assessment surveys and up and down the coast.
I started the job in 1999, 2000 as a fisheries guardian. So we would patrol our nation's lands and water. We'd monitor a lot of the food fishing that our people do. And now I'm into like stuff like Zach does, like some BC Hydro work and other stock assessments and stuff like that. And
stream enumerations.
Yeah, about 10, 15 rivers within like Cam River all the way up to Kelsey Bay over to like Phillips Arm, and quite a few watersheds that we do.
A stream enumeration is when we actually go into a system, say Eve River up north past Sayward, So we'll go in there and we'll swim sections of river designated by DFO and count every fish to the best that we can. Like some years we'll get 100 fish in a certain section, and within 2 weeks or next year we'll have 100,000. So it's a good estimate, and we use those numbers to help calculate run sizes.
But the stock assessments or the enumeration that Zach was saying, that's a big part of our work during the summertime, because like I said, like that's when fish return to all the systems. So we are doing like 10, 15 rivers within like Cam River, Kelsey Bay, even on the mainland, Phillips Arm. So we're all over the place, and then we do a lot of like other surveys, including clam surveys and all kinds. We're into almost everything. We're tagging and counting the Coho smolts that are coming down the river right now. Today I think we'll be around 2,000. So we'll do half the fish, half the Coho we'll coat it wire tag, and then the 10% of that we'll do the pit tags. Step one is opening up is having the hole on the fence open. That stays open throughout the night. And so when we come in the morning, we'll shut the hole off, and then we'll go into the box, and then we'll see what's in there. Like we'll scoop out whatever's in there. Like we usually we don't take everything out because we can't tag everything. We're only tagging 50% of the fish. So if there's 2,000 in there, we'll only take 1,000 out. So we'll scoop 1,000 fish out and bring them inside the cabin here, and then we'll tag like 1,000 CWTs and do 100 pit tags, and then the rest we'll count out. We'll just scoop them and slowly count them out. We're taking random measurements on the CWT, so every 10th fish we're taking a random length, and then on the pit tags we're taking the length and weight. We're taking scale samples from random sizes of the Coho. Yeah, it's exciting. It's good to see all the fish coming out. Like this has turned out to be this is a really odd year because of the weather, and I guess everything seems to be late. Like at the beginning of the project, we were kind of wondering where the fish were because about a month ago was when we usually have a lot coming out, but we weren't seeing nothing. Like we're lucky to see 100 fish. We should have been seeing thousands, but it's just everything was like 2 weeks late. So now, in the last week, we're finally seeing the fish. So it's good to see that there was a good run coming out, rather than seeing only 100 coming out. We're like, where's all the fish? Okay, this is our adult box for the Coho when they return in probably October, usually beginning of October, but they've been coming kind of late October. So the box is set up where there's an open chute on the other side, so the fish will come into the box, and then we'll close it off. And then usually we have about 2 or 3 guys standing on the ramp there, and we'll take every fish and we'll put a spaghetti tag through it, and we'll also clip it, and then we'll release it up the river. So we're tagging almost every fish that comes up. Try to tag every fish, and it's usually sometimes we get like I think the most we've had was probably about 500 adults come up in a day. So it's an all-day process of doing the fish. And it, like I said, that box fills up with like, you get like 50 fish in there, 50 big coho in there, and trying to handle them all day long. It's a lot of work, but it's fun. We're here every day. As soon as there's enough water for the fish to come up, we're here every day until the fish stop coming up. We want to track to see where they're going. We want to, because after the fish have all migrated up and there's no more fish coming up, we'll go up and walk the system, start walking the creeks, and then we'll start finding the tags and seeing where they've been spawning in different areas. Because this Black Creek is huge, because it splits up into like 4 different other creeks. So they go all the way past the inland highway. They'll go up Black Creek, they'll go up another creek, Miller, and then they'll go up this way, that way. They go everywhere, and then we walk every system that comes into Black Creek. We'll walk and start finding the tagged fish that we find a little bit of them. We don't find them all, because coho are they're one of the hardest fish to find in the river, because they like to find any little undercut or any bushes and spawn, and they go way up. They're one of the fish that migrate far. They keep going up, up, up. So we do have 2 camera boxes in here also. So because in the winter or in the fall time, the water level comes up pretty good too here. Sometimes it goes over. So just to keep the fish moving, we'll open up the boxes, but we still will keep track of how much fish is coming up. So there's 2 camera boxes with 2 tunnels. And so the fish will swim through the camera box, and we'll be recording it 24/7 also. So we'll know when everything's coming up. Even though there's nobody here, we'll open it up and we'll still be counting the fish when there's nobody here. Somebody at the end of the year will process all the video, sit in front of the computer and ask Zach about that. He does all that.
We'll be going up to the top end of Butte Inlet. At the beginning of the year, I sent out an email to all the local flight charters, helicopter, local fisheries guys, dive crews, to let us know if they see or observe any herring spawn. I sent them a nice little slide that this is what a herring spawn looks like. If you have any questions, let us know. Just last week, we got a report from a flight that saw a herring spawn. So on Monday, we'll go up and investigate it and get the dive crew out there, and we'll survey it. So that should be a pretty good day. When we survey a herring spawn, we're just seeing the size and how thick the spawn is. Because when herring spawn, they actually spawn on rock and on algae all over the water. So we'll go down and dive it and swim a transect, it's just a big long line, and we'll take measurements within it and see how thick it is and how promising the spawn was. Herring's a big food source for everything. It's like everything in the food web, it starts small and goes up to the keystone species. So say like we're at the top of the food chain and we'll eat salmon, or salmon eat herring, herring eat plankton and phytoplankton and everything else. So it just starts flow, and if you take one of those species out, it sort of disrupts the whole food web. I'm always a big fan of the dive days, because I actually get to go underwater and look at things and bring a GoPro and take video and pictures with me. So those are always pretty enjoyable days for me, at least.
The whole cleanup, it's a joint project between the Tyee Club of BC, which is just across the way, and the Campbell River Salmon Foundation, which is a funding body. I organized it quite a few years when I was with the Tyee Club Board of Directors. Now I focus on the Campbell River Salmon Foundation stuff. But as you can see, it's a community effort. I think this is the 7th time we've done it. It's gotten bigger and stronger. We have had to do without for 2 years because of COVID, but we're back at it now and we're eager. Primarily the Tyee Club of BC Campbell River Salmon Foundation, and now it's evolved community effort, bigger, stronger, faster. It's important because this stuff doesn't belong in the ocean, right? The latest research, there's some nasty stuff in tires. It does bad things for the salmon. Bigger picture, it's garbage. It doesn't belong in the estuary. The estuary is getting nice and clean. It looks great up top, but you go just under the surface and it was a garbage pit to date. I think with what we pulled today will be between 800 and 900 tires out of just our estuary, as well as all the other garbage. And again, they don't belong there. Get them out of there.
We monitor all the food fish that comes off. Like we like every member we try to get food fish to. So before, back in the day, like food fishery was the fishermen from a family would go out and get fish for themselves and bring it to them and their family, but we're trying to get fish for all the members in which is part of A-Tlegay. So which is a pretty big job and stressful.
And you need those fish for it.
Because, you know, we can only bring in so much, and to cover everybody is a pretty big task, because there is a lot of members in each nation, like Cape Mudge, Campbell River, Comox, and like there's a few thousand members. To try to get fish to everybody it's a pretty tough thing when you only can bring in so much too, but there's not that much out there to bring in, and then you're trying to divide that to everybody, and then it gets stressful.
There's not even a fish. There hasn't been a fishery open in a couple of years, so you can't even give the people the food that they rely on for a lot of the time. It's a major impact. Like, fish is a huge source of our culture, our people. It's a huge importance. So I'd say it's a pretty major impact.
Yeah, it's a tough situation when you can't fish for your own fish, and when it's just outside your own our traditional area, right? So we've been lucky. We have been getting some fish, but we've been buying fish, which is the first thing that I've ever seen, like from up in Alaska, because they've been doing fairly well up there. So we've been actually getting fish from up there just to try to get by here, just to give our nations some fish, right? Because going without, our traditional food it's a big thing when you don't have it for like 3 years, when you're used to having it every year. So it looks promising from, I guess, the fisheries management. I guess they're saying it is a decent run, so it looks promising for that. Hopefully it pans out, I guess, or hopefully it's what they say. Just kind of on the food fishery part was just monitoring it, but somehow we got into the business of trying to get everybody the fish now. Like, we were just monitoring it. We would just, like, people would bring the fish in and we would just see where it goes. Now people are calling us to get them fish now. Like, it was never part of our job, but we're kind of getting into that. So it's a pretty stressful part of our job. like you say, over the last few years, like we haven't been bringing in anything, and people are calling and calling to go food fishing. But we just can't because there's nothing there, right? There's no fish out there, right? So that's probably one of the hard parts. A lot of them come to us also, a lot of nations from the East Coast, because a lot of the fish come through the Johnson Straits, so, and they don't have the capability of getting the fish. So with us here being such a good-sized fishing fleet, we got the boats. So a lot of the nations on the East Coast come to here and ask A-Tlegay permission to fish in our waters. They got to ask permission first because it's within our First Nations land, right? So another nation just can't come in and fish in our area because this is our traditional area. So they ask, and then we'll accept or deny them. But usually they ask, get one of our fishermen that has a boat to catch fish for them. Each nation also have their own guardian watchman program, so they're doing the kind of the same stuff as us also. Like they're watching their own nation lands and doing their own surveys similar to us also. A-Tlegay started before all the other groups got going also. Like A-Tlegay, like I say, has been around for about 22 years. And then the guardians and the watchmen at the different nations have just recently, I guess they've been around a little while, but the Canberra River, the Weewacum just started their watchmen a few years ago, and Comox has been around a few years.
Yeah, 4 years or so now.
And Tlawotsees is another part of A-Tlegay. They just started a guardian watchman program too about a few years ago also. It's a beautiful thing to be living outside on the inside of the coast here.
Mm-hmm.
Got all kinds of marine life, and like I said, it's just so much to explore.
I will probably die on the island, to be honest. Like, I live and breathe near the ocean. It's just part of me. Like, that's all the best way I can describe it. In the future, like if I ever have kids or grandkids, that they can at least enjoy half of what I can right now. Like, it'd be pretty depressing if the entire fish population just depleted and you can't go and fish with a kid or fish with your grandpa or whatever like that. Because when I was a kid, I always fished with my grandpa just recreationally. And it was a huge bonding moment for us, and we did it until you're just too old and can't do it anymore. And I'd like to enjoy that with my kids or grandkids too.